A young lady from Florida, Ms. Luna.
Thank you, Chairman Gosar. If I can just ask for unanimous consent to enter this into the record? Thank you. I can't stop thinking about, Mr. Loris, what you told us earlier about some of this stuff that you'd witnessed with some of the human rights abuses. Real quickly, what is the youngest age of some of the children that you've heard have been working in these mines?
Ranging from 5 to 6 years old, and sometimes teens will have babies strapped to them while they're digging out the cobalt by hand. So I mean, you're literally talking about infants at these mine sites.
I just want to share a stat with everyone on the panel. Children who work in these mines are frequently drugged to suppress extreme hunger and fatigue of working in such harsh conditions. If you can just pass it that way. From our perspective, I think everyone on this panel would agree that if there's a way to move our industry away from China, it's probably the best thing from a human rights perspective. But my question, Mr. George, is because I'm not from a mining community, I'm from a fishing community. How does the United States mining standards differ from countries specifically that in the Congo where China's operating to conduct some of these mineral mining processes?
Well, I can talk about labor standards in terms of our rights here in this country to organize unions, which we've done. And the standards, the people that have done that, and people have literally died for those rights here in this country to obtain those rights. And when people organize and they have unions, that lifts everybody up. So whether you're union or non-union, you would benefit from those standards that we set. And
Sorry to interrupt you. Is it in your opinion that this administration's policies have put a hindrance on domestic mining operations?
100% yes. When you ban 225,000 acres of land where these minerals exist, I don't see how you could argue otherwise.
So I guess this would bring me to my next question, Mr. Minces. I had heard your perspective, and I understand what you're saying about respecting the rights of indigenous peoples in regards to mining. However, this committee has the ability to recognize that I think it's, again, our opinion, to do the least harm possible, not just to the environment, but to other people as well, right? The human rights perspective. And if we have the ability in the United States to bring in these resources and then export them and ensure that people are not only being respected, but also too that we're protecting the environment in the process, don't you think that that would be a opportunity for us to responsibly harvest these minerals, even if it is on indigenous lands?
Thank you, Mrs. Luna, for that thoughtful question. I think that there are a lot of really great opportunities for us.
Sorry, can you pause for a second? I don't know if that was funny, but I was asking a question, and so I'm just asking for you guys to be respectful while I'm asking the question. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mrs. Luna. I do think that there are opportunities for us to be able to onshore the stronger links of the circular economy infrastructure here in the United States, and that we ought to be able to raise standards here, labor standards, environmental standards here and everywhere around the world, which is why, in particular, when the Biden administration is going to the mining Indaba in Cape Town, we're urging real due diligence standards. And part of the bipartisanship, I think, of this committee is I think we all want oversight. We all want accountability from the Biden administration. I want to know what those due diligence standards really are. I want to know. And so, Mrs. Luna, I think we can work together in trying to figure out how we can raise the standards here and abroad.
So then my final question for you would be, right now the United States has re-entered the Paris Climate Accord, and that's enabled places like China to not only go forward and economically just completely dominate us, but also to, from an energy perspective and a mining perspective, they're not only complicit in human rights abuses, but they're also destroying the environment. If we have the opportunity to pull back, would you say that that would be in the best interest of our country to do so?
Thank you, Mrs. Luna. That's a really good question. I'd actually like to associate myself with Mr. Loris's comments with respect to China's position vis-a-vis rare earth elements and their position in the market. It's my view that they've actually lost market share since the recent 2010 trade dispute. And so there are, I think, as we've discussed, some trade options available to sort of reduce our dependency that way. Notably, Senator Wyden earlier this week just sent several letters to a number of original equipment manufacturers, mostly domestic ones, who were sourcing materials from the Xinjiang region of China, allegedly. And so what they're saying, what Senator Wyden is asking, same thing I'm asking, where's your due diligence plan? And so we're asking the administration, we're asking OEMs to show us how it is that we're making sure that slave labor isn't happening within their supply chains so that we can all responsibly source the materials that we need.
Thank you.